Welcome to Manifested Publishers.
Hello learners, I'm glad to have you once again on this learning forum. The subject is social studies. We will continue with the topic democracy and human rights. We are continuing. In our last sessions, we focused on democracy. From today up to the end of this topic, we will cover human rights. Human rights. I know this is not the first time you are hearing the phrase human rights, because in Standard 6 we defined human rights. We saw the different classification of human rights. Now that you are in Standard 7, we will study abuse of human rights. We will also learn about the forms of abuse of human rights. Then we will study the importance of respecting human rights. That's what we intend to cover in the subtopic human rights. So learners, welcome to this learning session. Make sure as you listen to this video, you must have an exercise book and a pen so that when I'm writing on the board, you take notes. Because at the end of this learning session, I'll give you revision questions. Revision questions. So we will begin with the abuse of human rights. Abuse of human rights. Abuse of human rights. Now, learners, all human beings are entitled to rights, such as the right to life, the right to education, the right to own property, the right to health, the right to security, and so on. That is what we learned in Standard 6, that all human beings, it doesn't matter where you are born, it doesn't matter how you look like, as long as you are a human being, then you are entitled to rights. All human beings, let's put down that point, very important. All human beings are entitled to rights such as the right to life, the right to education, the right to health, the right to own property, the right etc. All human beings have a right, whether they are good or bad. There are those who are not good in the society, other people are bad. Some are even criminals. Even those who are criminals, learners, have rights. They have rights to life. They have rights to education. They have right to health. They have right to own property. They have right to security. That is very important. So then, what is the meaning of abuse of human rights? Abuse of human rights. Learners, abuse of human rights is the act of denying or preventing people from enjoying or exercising their rights. Abuse of human rights. Abuse of human rights. Abuse of human rights is is the act of denying or preventing people from enjoying or exercising their rights. For example, because you are a student, there is this right to education. If you are told from today onwards by your guardian you will not go to school, you drop from school, force you out of school, then that guardian or parent is doing what? Is denying you your right. You have a right to education. You need to be in school. You need to study. So if someone tells you that from today onward they will not pay your fees, they stop you from going to school, then your right has been denied. Your right has been prevented. That means that that's the meaning of abuse of human rights. Your rights have been abused. To have your rights abused is to have your rights denied. And we've listed some of the rights. Rights to life. If someone threatens you or someone threatens me, if one person kills another person, then that person who has killed has abused human rights. If you are stopped or you are stopped from owning property somewhere, or if your property is taken away, then you have been denied your human right to property, because all human beings have right to property. All human beings are entitled to rights. So, abuse of human rights is the act of denying or preventing people from enjoying their rights. And there are many forms of abuse of human rights. Forms of abuse of human rights. There are many forms of abuse of human rights. There are many forms of abuse of human rights. We are going to list some of these forms of abuse of human rights. Examples. Number one is cases where women are beaten by their husbands in the home. But sometimes also some men are beaten by their wives. Children too can be beaten badly by their parents. So this is what we call domestic violence. When a husband beats the wife, or the wife beats the husband, or the parents beat their children badly. I'm not saying children should not be beaten. Parents have a right to discipline their children, and sometimes they may be forced to use the rod. Okay? But you are not supposed to beat your child badly. A parent should not beat the child badly. There are times when parents beat their children badly. Sometimes the children even bleed. There are those parents who even break arms of their children. And there are parents who have even killed their children. That's what I'm talking about, beating the children badly. So where a husband beats a wife, or a wife beats a husband, or the parents beats a child badly. And there are times when even children beat their parents, where a child beats a parent. That is what we are referring to as domestic violence. Domestic violence. This is the violence that takes place at home. Domestic, at home. That is a form of abuse of human rights. When a husband beats a wife, then that husband has abused the wife's human rights. When a wife beats her husband, then she has abused the human rights of her husband. When parents beat their children badly, then the parents have abused the rights of their children. When a child beats a parent, then that child has abused his or her parents' human rights. So, domestic violence is a form of abuse of human rights. Domestic violence. Number one, domestic violence. And I've explained how it happens. Okay, husband beating wife, wife beating husband, parents beating child, and the children beating husband. That is violence at home. Domestic violence is a form of abuse of human rights. Number two, cases of rape. Cases of rape. These learners where rape happens, rape affects the victims both psychologically and physically. When someone is raped, then that is abuse of that person's human right, because it affects the victim physically and psychologically. So rape is a form of abuse of human rights. Number three, discrimination of women. Discrimination of women. Learners, sometimes women are discriminated against because they are considered weak. This may make them lose out on job opportunities, political positions, promotions, or even educational opportunities. Discrimination of women. There are times when women don't get certain jobs because they are considered weak. There are times they don't get political positions because they are considered weak. There are times they lose on job opportunities because they are considered weak. There are times where women are not promoted because they are considered weak. There are times when they lose out on educational opportunities because they are considered weak. When that happens, then we say the women's rights, human rights, have been abused. They have been denied. They have been prevented from enjoying their human rights. Discrimination against women is a form of abuse of human rights. Number four, overworking and underpaying employees. Overworking and underpaying employees. Where employees or workers are overworked, then underpaid. We said their rights have been abused. We say their rights have been abused. Cases where workers are overworked and underpaid. They are not paid wages equal to the amount of work. Because the more a person works, the more the person should be paid. So when someone works more, then he ought to be paid more. When he overworks but he is underpaid, then we say his or her rights have been abused or have been denied or have been prevented. Number 4. We are moving on, marching on. We are marching on. Learners, from point 4, we move on to point 5. Point 5, you can say torture and being treated inhumanly. Torture and being treated inhumanly. Cases where people are tortured or treated in an inhuman way, then that is a form of abuse of human rights. And an example of this is when people in the society capture a criminal or a crime suspect and attack him or beat him and stone him. What we normally call mob justice. That denies the person the right to be heard in a court of law. Because remember we said every human being has a right. When someone is suspected of crime, you don't stone that person, neither do you kill the person. That person has a right to be heard in a court of law. Such a person has to be arrested by the police, then has to be presented in court, then the judge has to give that person a chance to defend him or herself. When that does not happen, then we say that person's rights have been abused or have been denied. So torture and being treated inhumanly is a form of abuse of human rights. Even if he is caught red-handed, that person has a right to be heard. All right? Because that person may be a thief, may be a robber, may have been murdered, but he's still a human being. All human beings, we've said all human beings. All human beings. This all includes criminals, includes robbers, includes thieves, includes bad people in the society. They still are human beings. All human beings. All human beings. Supposed to be one. All human beings. All human beings are entitled to rights. When you get someone stealing and you kill that person, then you have denied that person's the right to life. Number 5. Then number 6. The 6th form is where the police mishandle suspects, cases where police mishandle. Sometimes the police mishandle cases. Sometimes the police mishandle suspects. Sometimes the police, I know some of you may have witnessed cases where the police do not handle suspects properly. Sometimes they mishandle suspects and put them in jail without trial. Okay? Sometimes the police mishandle suspects and put them in police custody without trial. Because the law, for example, in Kenya, does not allow the police to put suspects in custody for more than 24 hours. But there are times when the police put suspects in custody for more than 24 hours. When they put suspects in custody for more than 24 hours, then we say they have denied the suspects their rights. Number 6. Then number 7, another form of abuse of human rights is cases where people are murdered or killed. Cases where people are murdered or killed. Cases where people are murdered or killed. Learners, killing means taking away the life of a person. When you take away the life of a person, then you have denied that person his or her basic human right, the right to life. Everyone has a right to life. But when you kill a person, then you have denied that person's of his or her right to life. Number 8, we have cases where pupils or students bully others. Cases where older students bully others in school. Cases where older students or learners bully others in school. Bully others in school. When you bully your friends or your schoolmates, then you are abusing their human rights. Okay? So cases where older students bully others in school, they abuse their rights. So learners, these are the various forms of abuse of basic human rights that may take place in the society. Now, when we come across such cases, we should report to the relevant authorities. If it's in school, if you see someone bullying your friend, or when you are bullied in school, you need to report to the relevant authorities. Relevant authorities in school is your teachers. Report such cases to your teachers. If it is at home, then report to your parents. If it is on the streets, then tell your parents or older people in the society. That is very important. So learners, with that, we come to the end of our today's lesson. but I'm going to leave you with the 2 revision questions. Revision questions. Two questions. Number 1, what is the meaning of abuse of human rights? Question number 2, state 8 forms of abuse of human rights in the society. Learners, when answering these 2 questions, close your exercise book. Try and see if you can recall what we have learned in our today's lesson from your memory. Thank you for attending our today's lesson. In our next lesson, we are going to study the importance of respecting human rights. Bye-bye. God bless you.